Watson had always been different from the other boys in his neighborhood. At 16, he carried a confidence that made him stand out, not arrogance, but the kind of strength you earn after growing up too fast. His deep brown eyes always held a spark, and his voice carried warmth even when life around him didn't. He lived with his mother, Teresa, a gentle woman who worked long hours at a small clinic. She was soft-spoken, kind, and tired in a way only mothers, who carry everything silently, can be. Everything changed the day his father remarried. When Dana entered their lives, she wore a smile that looked polite on the surface but never reached her eyes. She was younger, sharper, and always dressed in expensive clothes, despite never working a single day. From the moment she stepped inside their house, Watson's instincts told him something was off. There was a coldness in her voice, a tone that sounded sweet around Watson's father but turned sharp when she spoke to Teresa. His father couldn't see it, or maybe he didn't want to. Every morning, Watson would wake up to the sound of dishes clattering, not because someone was cooking breakfast, but because Dana disliked seeing Teresa's cheap old utensils in her kitchen. She would slam cabinet doors, sigh loudly, and whisper things under her breath. His mother would gently pick up whatever Dana had thrown, pretending not to hear the insults. But Watson heard everything. One evening, Watson came home from school and saw his mother wiping tears near the sink. Dana stood behind her, arms crossed and smirking slightly, as if Teresa's pain was her entertainment. "What happened?" Watson demanded, dropping his bag. Teresa shook her head immediately. "Nothing, honey. Just tell him," Dana interrupted mockingly. "Tell him how you broke another dish and almost cut yourself. She's careless. Always has been." Watson stepped forward. "She didn't break anything. Why are you talking to her like that?" Dana's smirk faded. "Watch your tone. I'm your father's wife. You don't get to speak to me like and she's my mother," Watson snapped. "You don't get to treat her however you want." Teresa rushed between them. "Watson, please, leave it. It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Dana glared at Teresa with eyes full of something venomous. "He talks like this because you spoiled him," she said. "No wonder your husband never respected you." The words struck like a slap. Watson froze. Even his mother's breath hitched. "That's enough," Watson said, his voice trembling with anger. But Dana wasn't done. She stepped closer, her face inches from Teresa's. "You don't belong in this house. You are a burden, and everyone knows it." Watson saw the way his mother lowered her head, the way her shoulders curled inward, as if trying to hide from the words thrown at her. His fists clenched. He wanted to shout, to scream, to remove Dana from the house himself, but he knew it wasn't that simple. His father adored her blindly, and confronting Dana would only make things worse for Teresa. But inside Watson, something dark began to form, something cold and determined. Later that night, Watson sat beside his mother on the small balcony. The night breeze carried a soft chill, and the city lights shimmered below them. Teresa placed her hand on his, forcing a small smile on her tired face. "You don't have to defend me every time," she whispered. "I don't want you getting hurt." Watson swallowed hard. "Mom, she can't talk to you like that. She can't treat you like this." Teresa looked away, her eyes glistening. "People like her, they don't change. And your father, he doesn't see it. I don't want the house filled with fights." Watson stared at her, feeling his chest tighten. His mother deserved peace, love, respect, not daily humiliation. He made himself a silent promise right then. A promise that if no one else protected her, he would, no matter the cost. But the days that followed only grew worse. Dana found new ways to dig into Teresa's heart, insulting her cooking, accusing her of lying, making scenes in front of neighbors. Sometimes she would whisper insults so Watson couldn't hear. Other times she would wait until Watson's father was home, knowing he'd blame Teresa for overreacting. She had turned manipulation into an art. One afternoon, when Watson came home early from school, he heard voices from the living room. His mother was crying, not quietly like before, but broken, shaking sobs that made his whole body freeze. Dana stood over her, holding a torn photograph of Watson and his mother, one Teresa cherished. "You keep clinging to the past like it means something," Dana barked. "This is my house now, my family." Watson felt something snap inside him. He stormed forward. "What did you do?" Dana turned around, annoyed instead of scared. "You again. Your mother needs to learn. She needs to learn nothing." Watson roared. "You're the problem here." Teresa grabbed his arm desperately. "Watson, please." "Stop," Dana smirked. "You think yelling will change something? You're a child, and I'll make sure your father sees that you and your pathetic mother don't belong." A glass shattered. Watson hadn't thrown it. Teresa had. For the first time, she raised her voice. "Stop it. Stop saying these things." Dana's face twisted in rage. "Oh, so now you grow a spine. Pathetic woman." She raised her hand as if to slap Teresa, but Watson stepped between them. "Touch her," he whispered, "and I swear you'll regret it." Dana froze. For the first time, Watson saw fear flicker in her eyes, only for a second, but it was there. She lowered her hand slowly, seething. "You want revenge," she hissed softly. "Fine, you will get it, but not the kind you're hoping for." Watson didn't understand what she meant. Not yet, but very soon, he would. And what Dana planned next would destroy everything they had left. The fire in Watson's heart began to burn darker. stronger, a fire that would soon turn into full revenge. The days after the fight felt heavier than ever. Watson woke each morning with a tightening in his chest, worried about what new cruelty Dana might unleash. His mother tried to act normal, tried to smile while packing his lunch, but the faint bruised red around her eyes told him she barely slept. Every time she opened her mouth to speak, Watson could hear the tremble she was trying to hide. Dana, however, walked around the house with a different energy, smug, calculating, like someone who had already planned her next move. One night, Watson's father came home unusually early, slamming the door louder than necessary. Dana followed behind him with tears in her eyes, the kind she could summon whenever she wanted. Teresa and Watson were sitting in the living room when his father stormed in. "Watson," his father barked, "we need to talk." Watson stood slowly, already knowing where this was going. Dana clung to his father's arm dramatically. "Please don't shout at him too much. He's just confused and angry." She sniffed loudly. Maybe because his mother fills his head with his father shook her off? Enough. Then he turned to Watson, his expression hard. "What's this I hear about you threatening, Dana? And throwing things in the house?" Watson clenched his jaw. "I didn't throw anything, and I didn't threaten her. I just—" "You yelled," Dana interrupted softly. "You stepped toward me aggressively. I felt unsafe." Watson stared at her, stunned. "That's not what happened." "She tried to, Watson." "Enough," his father snapped. "Dana told me everything." Teresa stood up quickly. "Please listen. Your wife has been saying horrible things." His father slammed his fist onto the table. "Teresa, stop. Dana would never lie about something like this." Watson saw the way his mother flinched, and something inside him twisted painfully. "She tore our photo," Watson said quietly but firmly, "and she insults Mom every day. You don't see it, but are you calling my wife a liar?" His father roared. Dana took a step closer to Watson's father, lowering her voice to a trembling whisper. "He scares me. I'm sorry. I tried to be patient, but I'm scared in my own home." His father pulled her into his arms. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'll handle this." Watson's fists tightened until his nails dug into his palms. He couldn't believe it. His father, the man who used to lift him on his shoulders and call him strong, now stood blindly on the side of a woman who poisoned everything around her. His father looked at him coldly. "From now on, you stay out of Dana's way. And if I hear you raised your voice at her again, you and your mother will pack your bags. I won't tolerate disrespect in this house." Watson felt like he'd been punched in the chest. His mother whispered, "Please, don't say things like that." But his father didn't even look at her. "Dinner is ready," Teresa murmured softly, trying to break the tension. Donna gave a small smile. "Oh no, I'm not eating anything she makes tonight. I don't feel well." His father nodded. "I'll order something." They walked away together, leaving Watson and his mother standing alone in the living room. Teresa's hands trembled as she gathered the dinner plates she had made with such care. "It's okay," she whispered. "It will pass. It always does." But this time was different. Watson could feel it. That night, he heard muffled crying from his mother's room. He sat outside her door, leaning against the wall, fighting tears of his own. He hated feeling powerless. He hated that Dana could manipulate his father with a few tears. He hated that his mother suffered silently, too gentle to fight back. He swore to himself he would find a way to protect her, no matter what. The next day, Dana began a new kind of attack. Quiet, subtle sabotage meant to make Teresa look incompetent. She hid important documents, then accused Teresa of losing them. She turned the gas knob on slightly, then claimed Teresa was careless in the kitchen. She deleted messages from Watson's father's phone to isolate him further. Watson caught her once standing near the stove with a twisted smirk, but she pretended innocence when he confronted her. "Do you think anyone will believe you?" she whispered. "You're just a child." One emotional outburst away from getting thrown out of this house. Watson felt his stomach churn. Dana wasn't just cruel, she was dangerous. And then came the breaking point. One afternoon, Watson returned from school and found his mother sitting on the floor, surrounded by broken pieces of a clay vase, a gift Watson had made for her years ago. Dana stood above her with crossed arms. "I told you not to touch my things," Dana said coldly. This wasn't yours," Teresa whispered. Dada shrugged. "It was on my table, so it's mine." Watson rushed forward. "Mom, are you okay?" Teresa wiped her tears quickly. "It's fine. I just slipped, liar," Dana said sharply. "Tell him the truth. You got angry and threw it. I saw you." Watson felt something explode inside his chest. "Stop lying." She would never. Dana stepped forward until she was inches away from him. "And what will you do? Hit me? Scream again? Make it easier for me to get rid of you?" Watson's breathing grew heavy. He felt his pulse in his ears. "You think you're smarter than me?" Dana whispered. "You're nothing. Your mother is nothing." The word nothing hit him like fire. Watson grabbed Dana's wrist sharply, not hurting her, but stopping her from stepping any closer to his mother. Dana inhaled sharply, her eyes widening. Then a slow smile. "There it is," she whispered. "The temper, the aggression, the proof." Proof. Before Watson could react, she purposely stumbled backward, falling onto the floor with a loud cry. His father ran in at that exact moment. "What happened?" Dana pointed at Watson, tears instantly streaming down her face. He grabbed me. He pushed me. He tried to hurt me. Watson froze. What? No, I didn't. She fell on purpose. His father turned to Teresa. Is that true? Teresa's lips parted, her voice trembling. She fell. But Watson didn't. Enough, his father roared. Both of you, pack your things. You're leaving this house tonight. Teresa's face shattered. Watson stepped back, stunned. Dad, you're choosing her over us. Dana clung to his father's arm. Please don't shout. I'm scared. His father wrapped his arm around her protectively. You have 1 hour. Get out. Watson watched the scene wordlessly, his whole world collapsing around him. Teresa broke down in tears, whispering, Watson, let's go, please don't fight. Watson swallowed hard, his vision blurring. He didn't shout, he didn't cry, he didn't argue. He simply looked at Dana. The look he gave her was cold, sharp, deadly calm. Dana, for the first time, looked back, unsure. Because in Watson's eyes, she saw something she had never seen before. A promise of revenge. A promise that what she did today would come back to her harder than she ever imagined. The night Watson and his mother left the house, the air felt colder than usual. Teresa carried only a small bag with her clothes, while Watson held the rest, a few notebooks, a worn jacket, and the broken pieces of the clay vase he had made years ago. He didn't know why he took them. Maybe because they were proof of something real in a world now twisted by lies. They walked down the dark street in silence. Teresa wiping tears the whole time, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, over and over like a broken record. Watson didn't cry, not even once. His heart had already crossed into another place, a place where his anger grew teeth. His uncle Marcus agreed to take them in. He lived on the other side of town, in a small 2-room apartment. When he opened the door and saw Teresa crying, he hugged her immediately. What happened? What did he do now? Marcus asked, glaring in the direction they came from. Teresa didn't answer. She couldn't. Watson spoke instead, his voice calm but hollow. Dad kicked us out. Because of Dana. Marcus muttered a curse under his breath. That woman's poison. He looked at Watson. You good kid? Watson nodded once. Yeah, but Marcus saw the storm behind his eyes. Over the next few days, life changed drastically. Teresa got a small job at a bakery. Watson switched to a new school. They shared a room in Marcus's apartment, trying to pretend this was temporary, that Watson's father would call, apologize, come to his senses. But weeks passed, nothing. No calls, no messages, not even a birthday wish. It was as if Watson and his mother had been erased. Teresa deteriorated slowly. She stopped smiling, stopped humming while cooking, stopped fixing her hair the way she used to. Every night, Watson heard her crying softly in the dark, and every night, Watson's anger grew. Dana wasn't just cruel. She was strategic. She had taken everything from them, their home, their peace, Watson's childhood. But Watson noticed something. As his mother grew weaker, he grew colder, stronger, sharper. He paid attention to things he used to ignore. He watched people closely, learned how they lied, how they manipulated, how they hid their intentions. He was becoming the kind of person who didn't get fooled twice. One evening, Marcus came home furious. Your father is selling the house, he announced. Teresa dropped the spoon she was holding. Selling our house. He fired your mother-in-law's helper too, Marcus added. Dana convinced him it was too expensive to keep her around. Watson felt something flash in his chest. He sold Mom's house, the one her parents bought. Marcus nodded. Yes, Dana wants a bigger place, closer to the city. Teresa leaned against the counter, breathing hard. That house? That was the only thing left from my parents. Watson knew it then. Dana wasn't satisfied with pushing them out. She wanted to erase them, completely. Later that night, Watson couldn't sleep. He sat on the fire escape outside Marcus's apartment, staring at the city lights, replaying every insult, every humiliation, every tear his mother shed. Dana's voice echoed in his memory. You're nothing. Your mother is nothing. Watson whispered to the night, his voice low and steady. You made a mistake, Dana. You should have left us alone. The next morning, Watson made a decision. He would never let someone else decide his mother's fate again. He started staying late after school, not for sports or clubs, but to spend hours reading. Psychology, human behavior, power dynamics, books Marcus lent him, books from the library, even online articles about manipulation and influence. He wanted to understand people like Dana. He wanted to know how they thought, how they lied, how they controlled others, and how to destroy them. Slowly, Watson transformed. His teachers noticed he was more focused, more confident. Students who used to ignore him now stepped aside when he walked past. He wasn't bigger or louder, just different. A dangerous calm, a controlled intensity, a sharpness in his eyes that made people uneasy. Marcus watched him with caution. You're changing, kid, Watson replied. Is that bad? Marcus shook his head. Not bad, just heavy. All the while, Watson collected information quietly, patiently. He learned Dana's routines, her workplace, her friends, her weaknesses. He heard rumors through old neighbors about her controlling nature, about arguments she had, about how she isolated people around her. And then came the moment that shifted everything. One day, Watson ran into an old neighbor named Mrs. Hawthorne near the grocery store. She was one of the few kind people from the old neighborhood. "Watson," she said, surprised. "Oh dear, your father told everyone that you and your mother abandoned him. He said you chose to run away?" Watson froze. He said, "What?" "And Dana has been telling people terrible things," the woman whispered. "She said your mother was unstable. She said you were violent." Watson's heart beat violently in his chest. "That's all lies." "Oh, sweetheart," she sighed softly. "I know, but people believe her. She's convincing. Convincing by manipulative. Poisonous. Watson thanked her and walked away. But rage burned in every step. It wasn't enough for Dana to throw them out. It wasn't enough for her to take the house. Now she was rewriting the story, painting Teresa as a dangerous mother and Watson as a violent son. Watson didn't cry. He smiled, a cold, hollow smile, because now he knew something important. Dana wasn't smart enough to realize she had crossed a line she couldn't erase. That evening, Watson sat with his mother at the small dinner table. She tried to act cheerful, but her eyes were distant. "Mom," Watson said softly, "if someone hurt you, really hurt you, would you want justice?" Teresa didn't look up. "I just want peace." Watson nodded slowly. "I'll get you that, I promise." She touched his hand gently. "Please don't do anything dangerous." "I won't." Watson lied smoothly. "I just want things to be right again." But Watson already knew. There was no going back. Peace was no longer an option. The only path left was revenge. And he was ready for it. Weeks passed, but Watson's focus never wavered. Every day, he grew sharper, calmer, more deliberate. He smiled more, but the kind of smile that hid something behind it. Marcus felt it. Teresa sensed it, but neither understood the depth of what was happening inside him. Watson wasn't acting out of hatred. He was acting out of purpose. For his mother, for the home they lost, for the lies told about them. One afternoon, Watson received unexpected news from a classmate who lived near his old neighborhood. "Yo, you heard," the boy whispered. "Social services visited your old house. Something about domestic complaints." Watson didn't react outwardly, but inside, gears started turning. Social services meant Dana had slipped. She had a temper. If she was losing control behind closed doors, the truth would eventually crawl out. But Watson wasn't waiting for eventually. He decided to move. Late that evening, after Teresa went to sleep, Watson sneaked out of Marcus's apartment. He walked quietly across town until he reached his old street. The house that once belonged to his mother's parents now looked different. Cold lights, trimmed hedges, and a polished car in the driveway. Dana's influence coated everything like a bitter fog. Watson crouched behind the fence and waited. Minutes later, shouting erupted from inside. A man's voice, his father's yelling, Dana screeching back. Something slammed, then another. It wasn't the first time Watson had heard this type of noise, but it was the first time he saw it from the outside. The house that used to be filled with warmth now sounded like a war zone. Dana stormed out the front door, slamming it so hard that the porch light flickered. She paced back and forth on the sidewalk, kicking a trash bin, cursing under her breath, completely unaware that Watson was watching. And then, a phone rang. Dana grabbed it immediately. "Oh my God, Zoe," she snapped. "I'm telling you, his son ruined him. That boy is a demon. Ever since he left, his father has become impossible." She paused, then laughed a cruel, sharp laugh. "Honestly, Teresa should thank me. I kicked her out before she poisoned her own son. Now she can cry somewhere else." Watson felt the anger explode in his chest like a flash fire, but he held it together, because this moment wasn't about rage. It was about proof. He stepped forward. Dana froze mid-sentence. Her eyes widened. He looked her dead in the eyes. "Calm. Too calm. You like telling lies, don't you?" Watson said softly. Dana's throat bobbed. She stepped back. "You can't talk to me like." Watson took another step toward her. "Do you want me to repeat what you just said? Or should I let the neighbors speak for you?" Dana's face went pale. From the bushes, two people emerged, Mrs. Hawthorne and Mr. Devlin, longtime neighbors who had witnessed Dana's cruel behavior since she moved in. Watson had called them earlier, asking them to meet him secretly. They had recorded everything. Mrs. Hawthorne held up her phone. "We heard every word," Mr. Devlin added, "and we've seen the screaming matches, the smashing things, the way you talked to that man." Dana's lips trembled. You set up," Watson cut her off. "No, you set yourself up. You've been doing it for years." Dana panicked, grabbing her phone. "I'm calling the police." "You can't threaten me." "Good," Watson said calmly. "Call them." She froze again, because Watson wasn't scared, not even slightly. And then the police arrived, not because Dana called, but because Mrs. Hawthorne already had. She reported domestic disturbances and verbal abuse with evidence. Officers questioned Dana and Watson's father separately. Neighbors gave statements. Every lie Dana tried to tell fell apart under the weight of real testimonies. Watson watched silently as Dana lost her composure completely. She screamed, she argued, she accused everyone, but nothing worked. Her mask cracked open in front of everyone. Finally, the officers gave her a warning. One more complaint, and she'd be removed from the home. Then they turned to Watson's father. "Sir, based on the reports and the documented tension in your household, we strongly suggest counseling." and possibly a temporary separation. Watson's father looked exhausted. His voice shook. I didn't know. Watson spoke for the first time in front of him. You chose not to know. His father flinched like the words were a slap. Watson continued. You believed her lies over your own wife, over your own son, and now look what you've become. His father's lips parted, desperate to justify himself, but nothing came out. Watson stepped back. I'm done trying to fix your mistakes, but I won't let Mom suffer anymore. The officers eventually left. Neighbors returned to their homes, still murmuring about what they had witnessed. Dana cried silently on the porch. Watson didn't look at her again. He turned to leave, but his father called out, trembling, Son, please let me make this right. Watson stopped. His heart tightened for a moment, but only for a moment. He didn't turn around. You made your choice, Watson said quietly. Now, I'm making mine. And he walked away. Back at Marcus's home, Teresa sat on the edge of the bed when he returned, worry all over her face. Where were you? She asked. Watson sat beside her, fixing things. She cupped his face with trembling hands. I don't want you to fight the world. I just want you to be happy. Watson smiled softly, the first real smile in months. I'm not fighting the world, Mom. I'm protecting what matters. Teresa hugged him tightly, tears soaking his shirt. You're my strength, Watson. You always were. Watson closed his eyes. For the first time, he felt peace. Not because things were perfect, not because the past had disappeared, but because he finally reclaimed control for himself. And for his mother. Life slowly began to rebuild. Teresa found a better job. They saved money. Watson continued studying and growing, no longer driven by anger, but by determination. Dana's downfall continued quietly. Neighbors avoided her. Her lies lost power, and eventually she moved away. Watson's father tried repeatedly to reconnect, but Watson kept his distance. Maybe someday he would forgive, but not yet. Sometimes revenge isn't fire. Sometimes it's clarity. Sometimes it's letting the truth burn someone from the inside. And Watson? He walked forward stronger, wiser. Unbreakable. Because he had learned something priceless. People who try to destroy others often destroy themselves first. And a son who fights for his mother becomes a force no one can silence.